Welcome back, True Seeker. A lot of people asking who I think is going to win the college football championship. If you follow my blog, a lot of people doing a lot of decoding work, and out of the people doing the work, they favor Georgia to win. That said, I've done my own decode, and based on what I'm looking at, I expect Alabama to win this game. And let me show you why. It's based on the coding with the game, as well as stories surrounding the game involving Nick Saban. So, in 2016, January, Alabama played Clemson for the first time. I guaranteed Alabama was going to win that game, getting their 16th championship to start 2016. It was easy to read that year because of this. In gematria, using the alphabetic order, Alabama sums to 31. Their Heisman winner that year, the running back, won the Heisman 31 days before the championship game was scheduled. It was easy to see that it was a script for Alabama to win it. And when Alabama won, they won with 45 points. If you write out 13 as a word, it sums to 45 forwards and backward. Notice Alabama sums to 13 as well as 31. Reflections of each other. Last year when Clemson beat Alabama, and I said last year I was torn. I couldn't decide for certain who was going to win, but I said if I had to bet, I'd bet on Clemson. I explained how Clemson had a major narrative last year. Clemson ended up winning it with 99 offensive plays. Notice when you write out 13, it sums to 99, and it was 13 who caught the winning touchdown to beat Alabama. Now this year, before the playoff games even happened, before the playoff games were even played, I said watch for the number 13. 13 is going to define these games. I said also watch for the number 11. Georgia and Oklahoma went to overtime 45-45. Georgia ended up winning it with 54 points. If you write out 13, look at this. These ciphers here, they have exceptions. For the 10th letters, if you write out 13, with the exception, it's also 54. Georgia went to overtime 45-45 with Oklahoma. They won with 54. Now we're going to get an all SEC matchup. SEC 54. Championships on a date with 27 numerology on 1/8. Just trying to let you know, all of this stuff is scripted by the numbers. So if you look at the numbers, you can often get the read on who's going to win the game. That said, sometimes even looking at the numbers, you'll pick wrong because you don't read the script correctly. But I'm going to explain to you why I like Alabama. Keep in mind other people who are doing this work who are actually watching college football and they favor Georgia. But let's see. So Alabama comes into the game 12-1. That's their record. Georgia comes in with 13 wins, 1 loss. The last two teams to win the college championship, which is Alabama in 2016, Clemson in 2017, they came in with this record of 13-1. And I said that was favorable both years because championship, using the alphabetic order, is 131. You see that? You see that? Notice that championship's also 68. This is going to be the 68th game all time between Georgia and Alabama. Isn't that interesting? And it's for the championship. 68th game all time between these college football teams. So, Alabama can get their 13th win, and Georgia could stay stuck at 13 wins. 13's been the number that has defined these playoffs. You know, the Alabama game, which followed the Georgia game, went to halftime with a score of 10-3, 13 points. The quarterback for Alabama had 13 attempts, things we talked about yesterday. But Alabama could get its 13th win. Nick Saban, the coach, equals 169, a number that has a square root of 13. Nick Saban's looking for his 6th championship. 13 is the 6th prime number. You see this? If I didn't mention so already, the name Nicholas, as in Nick Saban, his full name, Nicholas, also has the gematria 45 as well as 54. These numbers that connect to 13. Championship on January 8th. That said, the name Jake, the quarterback for Georgia, also has numbers going on that correspond with the game in a big way too. Jake Fromm, number 11. And consider Jake Fromm won his game, the playoff game, on 1-1. You know, like 11. And where's the number 11? They came into that game 12-1, kind of like 121, which has a square root of 11. That's why I said the numbers for the playoffs were 13 and 11, and they showed up in a big way. Last year when Clemson beat Alabama, notice Alabama went down with 31 points. Again, Clemson beat them with the 99th play. To Renfro. Not only did number 13, notice 13 in ordinal sums to 99, Renfro, who wears number 13, who caught the winning pass, 99. 99 offensive plays, all scripted. And as I've been explaining, a lot of these college athletes, professional athletes, they are farmed, they are birthed, they are named accordingly. We document this stuff every year. And you can take it even further. You can analyze these games further than I do and prove it even more. I'm just leading the way here. Also interesting, 13. It's the 6th prime number. It's the 7th Fibonacci number. Georgia has the G's on their helmet. The Alabama-Clemson game, A for Alabama. Clemson coach had the C on his helmet. A is 1, C is 3, 1, 3, another 13. But anyway, also Dabu Swinney used to play at Alabama, something we talked about the last few years. But 13 is the 7th Fibonacci number. Alabama could defeat Georgia with the big G, the 7th letter. In the Frank Baconis cipher, which takes into account lowercase and uppercase, G is 13. Could Alabama get their 13th win over the team with the big G on their helmet? As for Nick Saban going for his 6th championship, consider he's 66 years old right now. 6. This game's coming at the beginning of 2018. Emphasis on 18. On the date 1/8, which looks like 18. 18 factors into 6 plus 6 plus 6. UGA, the abbreviation for Georgia's football team, would also be a fitting team to get his 6th against. You see how 6 has overlap in 3 of the 4 base ciphers? UGA equals 16, 29, 52. 6, 16, 52, 29. Good team to get number 6 against at age 66. Also, from Nick Saban's birthday, October 31st, to the date of the game, span of 70 days. Alabama Crimson Tide, 70. Number with the numerology is 7. Kirby Smart, who's a former assistant coach to Nick Saban. Nick Saban, I saw a stat during the playoff games that he was 11-0 against assistants. And I don't know if that was in bowl games. It might have been in bowl games. But they did put up that stat, Nick Saban 11-0 against assistants. If he beat Kirby Smart, he would be 12-0. Kirby's 42 years old right now. Special number. The G, the 7th letter. There's something called Sumerian gematria where you multiply each letter times 6. So A is 6, B is 12, C is 18, D is 24, E is 30, F is 36, G is 42. The word Freemason's 42. Freemasonry symbolized with the G. Freemasonry created American football. But 42 breaks down to 6. 4 plus 2 is 6. Fitting age to give up the 6th championship to Nick Saban, who he coached under. From his birthday to the game is a span of 17 days. It'll be his 17th day of being 42 years old. 17 is the 7th prime number. Alabama going for its 17th championship. Saban. Also interesting here. The name Saban equals 98. This game is in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Georgia. So Georgia has the championship in their home state. Keep in mind, though, the powers that shouldn't be who rigged and script these games, they love to punk the home fans. They love to have a big loss at home and hurt everybody. They don't always do it, but they do it a lot. But notice, Saban 98, Mercedes-Benz Stadium 98, it's been opened for the 98th season of the NFL. there's these stories circulating about how Nick Saban opened up another Mercedes-Benz stadium this year in 2017. Apparently, him and his family own Mercedes-Benz dealerships. Could get this big championship tying Bear Bryant in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Isn't that interesting? With regards to 98 and Nick Saban going for his 6th championship, Tom Brady could get his 6th Super Bowl, a record. It's the 98th season of the NFL. Tom Brady equals 98, Patriots 98, New England Patriots 98. I've said that I expect Tom Brady to end up 6-2 in Super Bowls. He could do it this year, the 98th season. He could also do it next year in Atlanta, who he already beat in a Super Bowl. Next year, Atlanta hosts Super Bowl 53. New England, or check this out right here. Patriots have Gematria 53. Patriots 53. New England has Gematria of 99 as well. It's going to be the 99th season, Super Bowl 53. So this is how we got to watch these riddles, and this is why it can be tricky. But I do think we're going to end up seeing Tom Brady go 6-2 in Super Bowls. Could happen this year in Minneapolis. You know, he won the passing yardage record for the season by 62 yards over the next closest quarterback, Phillip Rivers. They traded Jimmy G to the 49ers. On the day leaving 62 days left in the year, Jimmy G went 7-0 as a starter. 62 days later to close out the season, 62. Remember, we've been talking about all year, Tom Brady 6-2 in Super Bowls. Something to think about with the 49ers is next year's Super Bowl 53 is the 49th Super Bowl of the modern era. You know? But I don't want to get lost in that. Let's focus on the college. I'm just saying how this college and pro narratives are tied together. It's like how I showed in 2016. Denver was going to beat the Carolina Panthers. Then you had Clemson go down in the college championship from the Carolinas. Then you had the Carolina Panthers go down. See? There's always these riddles that run between college and pro. Last year called the college basketball championship, showed how it was synced up with the NBA and why the Warriors would win. You know, North Carolina player played. Oh, why can't I think of the coach of North Carolina basketball right now? Guy that likes his checkered suits. Can't think of his name. But anyway, the Warriors had the right player that corresponded, that brought it all together. Last year's work. The point to understand is college and pro sports all scripted and connected together. So, the QB comparison. Again, SEC championship by the numbers. What's interesting about the QBs is the starter for Alabama. Somebody in the comments said a black quarterback has never won the championship for Alabama. They've lost every time. Again, a lot of people have done a lot of coding, and almost everyone following my work thinks Georgia's going to win. That said, I've seen almost everyone following my work pick a certain team, and I'm like, nah, guys, it's going to be this team, and then I'm right. So, anyway, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. But check it out. His birthday, 154 days before the championship, and it's against the Georgia Bulldogs, which also has Gematria of 154. Isn't that interesting? Who has whose number? Does he have the Georgia Bulldogs number, or do they have his number? Also interesting, from the Jake Fromm's birthday, the Georgia quarterback, this is the Alabama quarterback, Jalen Hurts, Jake Fromm, Georgia. From his birthday to the game is 162 days, or a span of 163 days. This is the 38th prime number, and that's interesting because Jake Fromm equals 38. So does Jalen Hurts. Both of their names equal 38. You know, what are the odds? What are the odds? Fromm, also 29 like UGA. Football equals 29, fitting number. But the one alignment that syncs with the other team is Jalen Hurts pointing to Georgia Bulldogs, which I find interesting. Then we got Nick Saban playing in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which we talked about the connection. Plus, he owns the stadiums. Now, here's the thing that's huge for me. Come back here. I should also mention this. In light of both QBs equaling 38, Alabama's won 38 games all time against Georgia. Georgia's won 25, and they've had 4 ties. So they played 67 games. The championship is going to be the 68th. And notice, Alabama was the 4 seed in the playoffs. They're now a 4-point favorite. Georgia equals 44. Special number to Georgia, comes up all the time. Before the playoffs began, I documented this story. And I was saying this is evidence of what's going on in this world that's more important than rig sports. Notice they start the story with 45 years ago. We just talked about this. 13, 45, Nicholas 45. He won it with 45 points, the championship over Clemson in 2016. It brings up State Road 218. There's something called English Extended Gematria. In this form, death equals 218. And consider you're looking at someone who's been getting letters in the mail saying, I'm going to be killed on February 18th this year. You know, people like to try to scare me for exposing this knowledge. But 218, they put that in the story. But then it gets worse. It gets worse, you see, because right here, they talk about how the funeral was 44 years ago and how Nick Saban was 46 years old. Or, excuse me, his father was 46 years old when he died. That matters because, again, kill equals 44. The word sacrifice, 46. We see these numbers all the time in murder by numbers. In Hebrew, murder and kill sum to 46. That's using the Hebrew alphabet. Genesis 46 begins with a sacrifice to God. That's where these rituals come from, the Bible. These numbers come from the Bible. This is Kabbalah, code of letters and numbers. It's biblical. Again, all of these people on the professional stage, the collegiate stage, in the media, to get where they are, they've had to make sacrifices. Their rear end or people in connection to them. Family, loved ones, close ones. You know, you look at a guy like Joe Biden, he gave up his whole family to have his career in Washington, D.C. His son died very suspiciously, I believe at age 46, Beau Biden. Same numbers again and again all throughout history. You know, if you don't know about Joe Biden before he even became a politician, his wife and daughter dead in a car accident. And it's not just him, it's so many people. It's a huge group of people. You're in the media, celebrity, you give up people, they get murdered by the numbers. Just talking about the other day, Chris Paul, and how his grandpa got murdered at 61. The same day he signed with Wake Forest, and then he scored 61 points in his high school basketball game. This is what's going on in the world, you know? Sick stuff. It starts young. You know, Nick Saban, 44 years ago, he was 22. How many men on the football field? 22. So, I think that story coming out just before these playoffs, the championship in Georgia, he's now facing Georgia. He's going to be in a special place if he wins his 6th championship. So, if I had to make a narrative for why Kirby Smart might win it, the date of the championship, 1/18/2018. Or, not 18, 1/8/2018. I'll just do this right here, the math, so you can see. 1 plus 8 plus 20 plus 18 is 47, right? Another very special number. Number that has a lot to do with 4 and 7. The divisors of 4 sum to 7. 7 is the 4th prime. But it's also a number of foundation. And notice the number 1 has gematria 47. You know, on the Freemason compass, there's 47 degrees because it's a tribute to the 47th problem of Euclid about how to establish foundation. You know, you start at square 1, 47. Kirby Smart could win his first national championship upstaging the man he learned from, Nick Saban, who he coached under. That said, that's not nearly as strong of a narrative as what I'm seeing here with all the way the numbers line up and Alabama getting their 17th over this coach 17 days after his birthday. You know, the way it lines up with Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. 70 in numerology is 7. 7 plus 0, 7. 17 is the 7th prime. We're ending the 2017-18 NFL or college football season. So, we'll leave it there. I'll link these posts down below. If you think it's going to be Georgia, you could be right. And you can follow all of the comments. Like right here, already 53 comments, and almost all these people saying they like Georgia to win it. So, in every college post I've done, there's a lot of comments under. And I just been scamming through them. Overwhelmingly, the people who follow my work like Georgia. But, I don't know. Looks like Alabama to me. So, that's what I'm going with. I'm not a gambler because I hate losing. But if I was a gambling man, I think Alabama's the safer pick this year. So, we'll leave it there, True Seeker. Until next time.